Shalom, call Halayim La Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. And a sincere shalom to the 144,001 third. Now, in the news of the week, Donald J. Trump has put a baseline tariff of 10% and a quote-unquote reciprocal tariffs on, I think, 60 or so countries. And this has sparked one of the biggest two-day sell-off in the stock market, and has massively weakened the U.S. dollar and a few other currencies of the world. China responded with their own tit-for-tat 34% reciprocal tariffs, and other countries are bowing the knee. You see, China can do what they do because they're the number one exporters in the world. The world needs China's goods more than any other country, even the U.S. And Babylon is essentially beating the other 59 or so countries in the submission. Even the EU is trying to work this out. They don't want to take the blunt force of these tariffs. Now check this out right here. Let's go to Jeremiah 50 and 23. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations? I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou was not aware. Thou art found, and also caught, because thou hast striven against Yahweh. So Esau is still ruling under Babylon. They're still one of the most, if not the most mightiest nation on the earth when you factor in everything that makes a kingdom, right? Not a nation, but a kingdom. When you look at these tariffs and what they mean, it's basically a bully, a strong arm tactic, because the overwhelming majority of these countries won't be able to survive comfortably, so to speak, with these tariffs being hit. Like Colombia, the president of Colombia was saying all immigrants are welcomed to his country because Trump was sending immigrants back to Colombia in disrespectful conditions, and the president didn't like that. And Trump was like, "Hey, all right, we're gonna slap you with some tariffs." And then the president of Colombia was like, "Bend the knee," because his keepers of the house, right, was telling him, "Nah, this is not a good idea. Do not get into a trade war with the U.S." So the U.S. is weakening the nations, and some of them are gonna bend the knee, and some of them are gonna retaliate, like China. Isaiah 14 in verse 9. Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It have raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. All they shall speak and say unto thee, Art thou also become weak as us, as we? Art thou become like unto us? So these Edomites, particularly the rulers of Babylon the Great, that great whore, are gonna fall, and it's gonna come primarily with the elect. The next stage of the election, the next stage of the election will take hold of the weakening of Babylon, and then the final stage of the election, when Yahweh Shah returns, is that grand finale, because that's when the nukes are gonna start being popped off. Isaiah's 63rd chapter. Okay, now let's dive into this article. U.S. starts collecting Trump's 10% tariff, smashing global trade norms. Florida, from Washington, Jupiter, Florida. April 5th, U.S. Customs agents began collecting President D.J. Trump's unilateral 10% tariff on all imports from many countries on Saturday. I believe Argentina was the first country to have no tariffs from the U.S. Argentina, that president over there, has been the knee bend the knee to Babylon, with higher levies on goods from 57 larger trading partners due to start next week. The initial 10% baseline tariff paid by U.S. importers took effect at U.S. seaports, airports, and custom warehouses at pretty much the start of Saturday, ushering in Trump's full rejection of the post-World War II system of mutually agreed tariff rates. So this is the start of war, because this is just going to lead to the Third World War. Okay, this is going to leave some hostility, permanent hostility. This is the single biggest trade action of our lifetime, said Kellyanne Shaw, a trade lawyer at Hogan Lovells and former White House trade advisor during Trump's first term. Some countries aren't going to retaliate, which Australia said they're not going to retaliate, and I believe New Zealand said they're also not going to retaliate. Saw a couple other countries saying they're in talks to work this out with Babylon to not get hit. So Trump is making enemies and beating people into submission. That's all this is. Enemies and victims, right? China has been hit much harder than the U.S., not even close, Trump said on Saturday on social media. This is an economic revolution, and we will win. Hang tough. It won't be easy, but the end result will be historic. Yeah, because he thinks this is going to aid and abate into that MOTB system. But the Most High, Yahweh, has other plans. Okay? Let's get this right here. This is Second Esdras 15:11. But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt, Babylon the Great, with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. So that's how you know this is talking about Babylon the Great, because it says what? Destroy all the land, which Babylon the Great has been likened to Egypt another time. All right, Revelations, the 11th chapter, Lord's will. I'll do a breakdown on that later. Probably more than likely is going to be my next video. Revelations, mainly the two witnesses in Revelations, the 11th chapter, I should say. And this is going to these tariffs are going to leave a nasty taste in these Babylonians' mouth and the whole earth. All right. Ultimately, this is more than likely not going to lead to that hyperinflation, but it will lead to inflation. So let's end this off right here. Revelations 6:6. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. So there's going to be more economic turmoil, more chaos, more catastrophe, which is going to lead to you working a whole day just to have enough money to buy food for a day or 3 days. All right, no more money for clothes, healthcare, rent, your gas. This is how bad it's going to get here in America, in the whole world. Right, this is not just talking about Babylon the Great. The whole entire oikoumene, right? So that's it for this video. I don't want to write this out. It's edifying. Shalom.